The morning sun cast long shadows across the running trails of Casa de Campo Park in Madrid as Cristiano Ronaldo completed his final sprint interval of an intensive training session that had lasted nearly 2 hours. It was early June 2022, and despite being in the later stages of his career, Ronaldo maintained the same rigorous fitness routine that had made him one of the world's most physically gifted athletes. As he slowed to a walking pace and began his cool-down routine, he instinctively reached for the water bottle in his running belt while using his other hand to wipe perspiration from his face and arms. It was during this routine post-workout motion that Ronaldo felt a sinking sensation in his stomach as he realized something was terribly wrong. His wedding ring was no longer on his finger. The platinum band, which featured a custom design with diamonds that had been specially crafted to commemorate his marriage, had been a constant presence on his hand for years and held immense sentimental value far beyond its considerable monetary worth. Ronaldo immediately stopped walking and began frantically searching his hands and checking his running gear, hoping that the ring had somehow become caught in his clothing or running accessories. His heart rate, which had been gradually decreasing from his workout, suddenly spiked again as the reality of the situation became clear. Somewhere during his extensive run through the park's winding trails, the ring had slipped off his finger and was now lost among the vast expanse of grass, dirt paths, and wooded areas that comprised one of Madrid's largest green spaces. The thought of losing such a meaningful symbol of his marriage filled Ronaldo with a sense of panic and dread that was far more intense than any pressure he had ever felt during important football matches. Ronaldo immediately began retracing his steps along the running route he had followed, carefully scanning the ground for any glint of metal that might indicate the location of his lost ring. The trail he had covered during his workout spanned several kilometers and included various terrains, from paved paths to dirt trails to grassy areas where he had performed his sprint intervals. The prospect of finding a small piece of jewelry in such a vast area seemed almost impossible, but Ronaldo was determined to search thoroughly before giving up hope of recovering this irreplaceable item. He spent the next 3 hours methodically combing every section of his running route, crawling on his hands and knees in areas where the ring was most likely to have fallen, and asking other park users if they had noticed anything unusual on the trails. As the morning progressed and his search proved fruitless, Ronaldo began to accept the heartbreaking possibility that his wedding ring was gone forever, lost in a park that covered over 1,700 hectares and attracted thousands of visitors daily. The emotional weight of having to tell his wife about losing such a meaningful symbol of their relationship was almost unbearable, and he continued searching long after logic suggested that the effort was hopeless. Unknown to Ronaldo, his lost ring had indeed fallen during his sprint intervals and had been discovered about an hour after his departure by an elderly man named Francisco Herrera, who was taking his daily morning walk through the same area of the park. Francisco, who was 73 years old and lived on a modest pension after retiring from his job as a postal worker, immediately recognized that the ring was something special when he spotted it glinting in the grass near the running trail. The weight, craftsmanship, and obvious quality of the jewelry made it clear that this was not an inexpensive piece of costume jewelry, but rather something of significant value and importance to its owner. Francisco's first instinct was to take the ring to the park's lost and found office, but he quickly realized that an item of such obvious value would need more secure handling to ensure it reached its rightful owner. Instead, he decided to take the ring to the nearest police station, where lost property of significant value could be properly documented and held safely until claimed. However, as Francisco examined the ring more closely, he noticed the custom engraving inside the band that included initials and a date that seemed to indicate this was a wedding ring with deep personal significance. The thought of someone losing such an important symbol of their marriage motivated Francisco to try to return the ring directly to its owner if possible. Francisco spent his own money to place advertisements in local newspapers and on community bulletin boards, describing the found ring in general terms, while keeping specific details private, to ensure that only the true owner could claim it. He also visited the park daily for the next 2 weeks, hoping to encounter someone searching for a lost ring who could provide the specific details that would prove ownership. Francisco's dedication to returning the ring went far beyond what most people would consider reasonable effort. He genuinely understood the emotional significance that such an item would hold for its owner, and was determined to reunite them if at all possible. Meanwhile, Ronaldo had enlisted the help of professional search services, offered substantial rewards for the ring's return, and even considered hiring metal detector specialists to systematically search the park. His desperation to recover the ring was evident to everyone around him, and his family and friends were deeply concerned about the emotional toll that the loss was taking on him. The ring represented not just a valuable piece of jewelry, but a tangible connection to one of the most important commitments in his life, and its disappearance had left him feeling as though he had failed in his responsibility to protect something precious that had been entrusted to his care. 3 weeks after losing the ring, Ronaldo was contacted by a local journalist who had heard about Francisco's advertisements and suspected that the found ring might belong to the famous footballer. When the journalist connected Ronaldo with Francisco and arranged for them to meet, the reunion was emotional and overwhelming for both men. Francisco was amazed to learn that he had been trying to return a ring to one of the world's most famous athletes, while Ronaldo was moved to tears by the extraordinary effort that this elderly stranger had made to ensure the ring's safe return. When Francisco presented the ring and Ronaldo confirmed its authenticity by describing the specific engravings and design details, the relief and gratitude were evident to everyone present. Francisco had not only found and preserved the ring, but had invested his own time, money, and energy in a 3-week effort to return it to its rightful owner. His actions demonstrated a level of integrity and kindness that went far beyond what anyone could reasonably expect from a stranger who could easily have kept such a valuable item for himself. When Ronaldo offered Francisco a substantial monetary reward for returning the ring, the elderly man politely declined, explaining that he had acted out of simple human decency and didn't expect payment for doing what he considered the right thing. Francisco's refusal to accept money for his good deed only deepened Ronaldo's respect and gratitude for this remarkable person who had gone to extraordinary lengths to help a complete stranger during a time of distress. However, Ronaldo was not willing to let Francisco's kindness go unrewarded, even if the man himself didn't seek recognition or compensation. Over the following months, Ronaldo quietly investigated Francisco's circumstances and learned that the retired postal worker lived alone in a small apartment and struggled financially on his limited pension. Francisco's modest lifestyle and obvious financial constraints made his refusal to accept reward money even more impressive, as keeping or selling the ring could have significantly improved his economic situation. Ronaldo's response to Francisco's generosity was both immediate and long-term, demonstrating how deeply the experience had affected him. He arranged for Francisco to receive lifetime season tickets to Real Madrid matches, knowing that the elderly man was a devoted football fan who had rarely been able to afford attending games. He also quietly arranged for Francisco's apartment to be renovated and modernized, including new appliances, updated heating and cooling systems, and accessibility modifications that would make daily life easier and more comfortable. Perhaps most importantly, Ronaldo established a friendship with Francisco that continued for years after their initial meeting, regularly visiting the older man and including him in family celebrations and special occasions. The relationship between Ronaldo and Francisco became a powerful example of how acts of integrity and kindness could create lasting bonds between people from completely different backgrounds and circumstances. Francisco's decision to spend 3 weeks searching for the ring's owner rather than keeping it for himself demonstrated values and character that impressed everyone who heard their story, while Ronaldo's ongoing gratitude and friendship showed how much the experience had meant to him personally. The story of the lost and found wedding ring eventually became known throughout Madrid as an inspiring example of human honesty and the unexpected connections that could develop when people chose to do the right thing, regardless of personal cost or benefit. Years later, Francisco would often say that returning the ring had brought him far more joy and satisfaction than keeping it ever could have, while Ronaldo credited the experience with reinforcing his faith in human goodness and the importance of recognizing and celebrating the everyday heroes who make the world a better place through their quiet acts of integrity and kindness.